Marysa Maggio, and thank you for hopping on and tuning in with me today. Really, what I'm going to be going over today is mindset, and essentially some steps that we can all take each and every day to essentially be the best versions of ourselves. Because when we're going out there, we're being the best versions of ourselves, for our clients, for our agents, for ourselves, for our families. That's when we're going to win. And I think that one thing I really kind of missed the boat on coming into this industry was it's 95% mindset, right? We talk a lot about the phones, we talk a lot about the things that are needed tangibly, but at the end of the day, it's always going to come back to your mindset, right? Like if you think that if you think you're ugly, at the end of the day, every single time you look in the mirror, you're going to be ugly, right? Because that's what you've convinced yourself. Same thing goes in this business and kind of, round table in life is whatever you think, you're going to attract. So start thinking about things that you actually want to happen. I know for me, being in this business, one day I really always struggled with in the beginning, until this day, is dial day, right? Is making sure that my tonality is there, making sure that I have the right mind space to be able to go out there, get on the phones, and have the right at bats, have the right swing. And in the beginning, it might not always feel that smooth, but as you work yourself through it, you're doing the trainings and you're learning and overcoming each objection, it's going to feel a lot simpler. But on top of that, there's things we can do each and every day that are fully in our control. Such as when we're waking up, what are we thinking about, right? What were we thinking before we went to bed? So if it's Sunday night or Wednesday night, and it's the night before dial day, how are you envisioning your dial day going, right? If it's a night before you're hopping into the field, how are you envisioning, your field day going? What does that look like? What does that sound like? And it may sound cheesy, but when you know what that's going to look like or sound like, you expect more. You expect different. You expect what you actually want to happen. And it's crazy how that's what usually will play out. So affirmations are huge. What we're telling ourselves each and every day, the power of I am is huge. We can use it for our favor or we can use it against us. Preferably, I like to use it for me, right? I used to say things like, I am an idiot, right? And that wasn't working for me. That wasn't serving me and it wasn't serving anybody around me, right? So I had to figure out what verbiage had to change within myself to become a better version of myself, right? Because each and every step that we take forward in this path, in this business and self-employed role, we have to become a better version of ourselves to grow, stretch, develop, and lead. So with that being said, some of my affirmations in the morning are, I am the best. I love myself. If anybody can help these families today, it's me. I love serving families. These families want my help. These families need my help. And when you're looking at yourself, when you're telling yourself that with conviction, you believe it. Now, if I sat there and I'm like, these families want my help, that's not helping me. Or like, I love myself. The people around me love and care about me, right? I am wanted, I am needed, whatever it might be. So whatever self-limiting beliefs you put on yourself, because we've all put them on ourselves at one time or another, you want to figure out what those things are. What do you tell yourself? And who else is telling you that about yourself? Is it your friends? Is it your family? Is it you? Right? So it's not always about what are we surrounding ourselves with, but it's also about who are we surrounding ourselves with. So there's a lot of power in affirmations. There's also a lot of power in conversation, right? If I sit there and I tell somebody that they're this, they're that, they're this, they're that, and they're listening to me, they're going to start to believe me. So I have to be careful what I'm telling other people. But here's the thing is, not that many people might be watching what they're telling you. So what I mean by that is, that person might essentially not be feeding your proper thought process or the thought process that is needed for you to succeed, right? If they're not in this business, they might not understand that sometimes you go to a house, you had an appointment set up, and the person's not home. I get it. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense until you experience it and work through it. But what are you telling yourself after that? I am prepared to door knock, or I am prepared to call my friend and complain, and that friend's going to agree with me and give in on my negative thought process, right? We want things that are going to feed us and build us up, not things that are going to deflate us, right? And I think that that's really important because, again, whatever we're telling ourselves is true. We're going to tell ourselves it until it becomes true. Same thing in terms of what are we seeing? What are we visualizing? I think that this sometimes goes like underlooked. What are we expecting out of the day? What are we expecting out of the week? What are we expecting out of ourselves that day, right? Do we expect to wake up at 4:30 and have an amazing morning, work out, hit the gym, get your mind space right, journal, affirm positive things, whatever it might be? Are we preparing for those things and are we expecting them to go right? Because at the end of the day, in this business, we talk a lot about activity. And don't get me wrong, activity cures everything in this business. If you can simply hit the phones, get after it, and put your emotions, in a jar to the side, you're gonna win. But at the same time, if you can use your brain and your emotions to work for you versus against you, you're going to have a lot higher chance of winning because you already believed you could win before you got on the phone. You already believed you could win before you got in the home. You already believed you could win before the live transfer came through. You already believed you could win before John got on the phone and did a telesale, right? You already believed that. So that belief didn't have to be reinstilled into you, right? When we understand that there's people who are filling forms out and all our job is to do is to follow up with them and get them the information, it can make our thought process a whole lot easier. Whereas we can have this twisted thought process of like, well, I just had 3 people tell me that they don't want to fill in the form out online and it had their beneficiary's first name and last name and date of birth. It's like, guys, we didn't, no one just put this out and said, hey, we're going to populate this and make it a lead. No, the person filled it out with intentions. Our job is simply to call them and either do a telesale if that's your style, or if you're doing a Zoom, whatever it might be. Our job is simply to get the information to them, whether that be virtually or that be face-to-face. Whatever it be, that's simply our job. And when we can minimize it, it helps us minimize our emotions too. And when our emotions peak high, for good or for bad, if you're indifferent, it's not good in this business. We need to stay right here, nice and level. We don't want to go low and we don't want to go high. When we can meet here, no matter what's going on, you have full control over what's going to happen. When you're here or you're here, you have lost control now. Stay even keeled. It's not always going to be easy, but when you can essentially get your mindset and your belief and the way that you speak to yourself to a stance of, I'm untouchable in this industry because all I'm doing is calling people who ask for help and I'm finding the problem and giving them a solution, which is the product that we're offering, right? When we can simplify the production process, it's going to make it a lot easier for us to simplify pretty much everything else in this business. Because sooner or later, you're going to see it's just systematic. But at the same time, if we can take that system and we're able to implement positive things we do in the morning, like journaling, positively affirming, visualization is huge. Matching a mirror and plugging in. There can't be emotions about the results. There has to just be emotions about the activity. And I hit on this all the time, but it's because activity trumps everything, right? I could be emotional because I had set up 2 appointments and they both told me to fly a kite or they both work home. But it's like, or I could have the expectation of, I know I need to set X amount of appointments to yield X result. So if I do X activity, I can't have X emotion. I'm not entitled to it, right? At that point. Because I didn't do the activity that I know is going to win, that the system says is going to win. So I think that each and every morning, if you can come up with a couple of things that you can implement, even if it's 5 positive affirmations that you tell yourself each and every morning, you're gonna realize that before you know it, what you're saying to yourself, how you're talking to yourself, when you're talking to yourself, what you're saying and what you're not saying is really important. And the same thing in regards to other people. What are they telling you about yourself, right? Are you listening? And is that a healthy relationship? What are you visualizing? What do you expect to happen? Are you expecting bad things to happen? Or are you expecting good things to happen, right? I prefer good. Let's rock with good. And realizing that we really can never be emotional about the result. The only thing that we should be emotional about this business is lack of activity. Because activity is going to win each and every time. So if we can get our mind right, we're calling people who ask for help. We're positively talking to ourselves and to others, by the way, that's important too. Don't be the person that you don't want in your ear. And visualizing what we think is going to happen. We're going to win, and it's because we're going to expect better. We're going to feel we deserve better because we do. So with that being said, I hope this helps somebody in terms of mindset, structure, or just putting something small in place into their morning routine each and every morning. I appreciate you all tuning in. Again, Marysa Maggio, FL Solidity. Thanks, guys. Bye.